The Inquisition, fire and faith. They said it was God's will. They said it was for the salvation of souls. But I have seen the work of the Inquisition, and I tell you it was fire and iron, chains and screams. It began with whispers. A neighbor who prayed differently. A merchant who spoke too freely. A woman who healed with herbs. Heresy, they called it. Heresy, that word became a death sentence. The inquisitors came cloaked in black, bearing crosses of iron and books of law, their eyes sharp as blades. They spoke of mercy, yet their mercy was written in blood. First came the questioning. Gentle at first, so they said, though no man ever left it unscarred. They asked of your prayers, your neighbors, your thoughts. Who did you see at night? What words passed between you? And when your tongue stumbled, they bound you tighter. The chamber was dim, the air thick with incense to mask the stench of sweat and fear. A quill scratched at parchment as the confessions of men were carved not from truth, but from agony. The rack stretched bodies until bones cracked, tendons snapped like ropes, and screams echoed against the stone. The strappado lifted prisoners by the arms bound behind their backs, dropping them suddenly so shoulders tore from their sockets. Iron boots crushed flesh and bone. Hot coals licked bare feet. Needles pierced beneath nails. And always the question was the same. Do you confess? Confess, and perhaps you would live, though living meant chains, exile, ruin. Deny, and the fire awaited. They marched the condemned into the square, bound to stakes driven deep into the earth. Bundles of wood piled high, doused in pitch. The crowd gathered. Peasants, merchants, nobles, even children perched on their fathers' shoulders, eager to see the flames. The priests raised their voices in prayer, declaring that the sinner's body would burn so the soul might be purified. Then the torches touched the wood. The fire roared like a beast, devouring flesh and bone. Smoke rose in black columns, carrying the screams to heaven itself. Some cried out to God, others cursed, others only wailed until their voices melted into silence. The smell of charred meat filled the air, and still the crowd watched, some crossing themselves, others smiling as if at a feast. And when the fire died, only ash and bone remained, scattered on the wind. But the Inquisition was not only fire. It was fear. Fear that crept into every home, every heart. Husbands accused wives. Children accused parents. A whispered grudge became a death sentence. No man was safe, for to doubt the Inquisition was to invite its gaze. Better to accuse another than to be accused yourself. So the prisons swelled, the gallows creaked, the pyres smoked, and the inquisitors grew fat on it. Fat with power, with gold taken from the accused, with the fear that gave them dominion over kings and peasants alike. They spoke of saving souls, but their hands dripped with blood. Their faith was written not in scripture, but in scars. I remember one night when they burned a whole village. The people had clung to an old faith older than Rome, older than Christ. They prayed to the woods, the rivers, the stones. Heresy, the inquisitors said. They dragged men from their homes, bound women in chains, and drove them into the square. The fires rose higher than the church steeple, the cries louder than the bells. By dawn, nothing remained but smoldering ruin, and the priests sang hymns over the ash. Was this God's work, or man's cruelty dressed in holy robes? Cannot say, but I know this: the Inquisition left scars not only on flesh, but on the very soul of the world. Where once there was trust, there grew suspicion. Where once there was prayer, there grew silence. And where once there was life, there grew only ash. They called it faith. I call it fire. Fire that burned not only bodies but hope itself.